One is just to show how crazy you are. And two is to show like to what extent are we actually waterproofing something? Because there's water resistance and then there's waterproofing. And the reason I bring that up is, we're in remodeling. So how many times have you taken apart a shower from that was 40 years ago? Yeah.
Hey, how you doing there, Dowd?
I'm doing good, Joe. Where
All
are
right,
you?
all right.
Shooting from Oklahoma?
Yeah. You having a good day today or what?
I'm having a really good day. I went and picked up my puppy today.
Yeah, you got a new puppy today.
I shouldn't say puppy. She's a year and a half, but it's a puppy.
What's her name?
Well, her name is Carol at the shelter, but that's not going to stay. And she doesn't know that that's her name.
Carol.
Because she doesn't respond to it. So I think it was one of those, find a dog, give it a name. And yeah, they ran out of dog names. So they went with 1950s housewife names.
Carol.
Yeah.
Well, do you got any ideas? What are you going to do?
Honestly, I picked her up today. So I figured, I was brainstorming it for a while, but I picked her up today. So I figured, you know what? I'm just going to she doesn't know her name. Or maybe she had a name and no one else knows her name. I don't know. But I figure I'm going to wait and just kind of just let her form her own appropriate name. I figure it's going to come to me. I'm like, oh, all right, she's a this, Otherwise, I'm just going to name her Stella after my favorite beer. But,
That's not a bad idea.
It's not a bad name. Either that or bourbon.
Stella, not a bad name. Not a bad name. Better than Carol.
Better than Carol, for sure.
Better than Carol.
Yeah. So it's a good day for me. How you doing?
Good. I'm doing good. So what's our situation today?
I think we are kind of on a tangent of the end of the last week, which was we got really deep into talking about some Schluter Dietra stuff. And that from that, it kind of blossomed into talking about, I think we may have touched on it, but we started talking about waterproofing. And that was because I was talking about a bathroom that we are currently doing, in which we were using the Hydro Defense 3x5 panels, cement-based panels with built-in waterproofing on the face of them. And then we started talking about, what do you do on the seams and the joints and the screw penetrations and all that fun stuff. So I said that we use Redguard. And you got really upset and said you would fire somebody if they used Redguard.
This conversation that you're referring to was not on tape. This was all after we turned the cameras off.
Yeah. So we should have kept.
Yeah.
We should have kept going.
We should have kept it going. Yeah. I started to ridicule you for using Redguard, but okay. Well, let's get into that. Waterproofing 101. Is this a continuance of our 101 or 101?
Waterproofing 101.
Yeah. Sure. All right. Let's do it.
Yeah.
Okay. All right. So my waterproofing. Now we're talking about showers, and we're in the bathroom now. We're talking about waterproofing your showers, specifically showers, but you can also waterproof the bathroom floor as well. We use Schluter. If you listen to last week's episode, it'd be pretty obvious that Schluter is a big thing. So that's what I use to waterproof the walls before the tile goes onto the walls and the floor as well, the shower pan as well. What do you use, Todd?
So I like to use the Hydro Defense, which is 3x5 panels. And that comes with a built-in, on the face of it, has a built-in waterproofing membrane. Or I don't want to call it a membrane because that would imply that it's something that's put on after. This is factory finish, built-in waterproofing on the face of it. What that leaves well, I shouldn't say it. I mean, any product is going to do this, I think. The question after that is, what do you do with those seams and joints, inside corners, screw penetrations, cutouts for plumbing fixtures, that kind of thing, right? So we put waterproof mesh tape over the joints, thin set over that. And then per manufacturer requirements, the screw heads to that are flush with the surface, not countersunk, not proud, flush to the surface. So we will really lightly thin set that, and then we Redguard all of that. So we Redguard the joints, we Redguard the inside corners, we Redguard the screw penetrations, and then after that, we tile. Now that's just the
Okay.
walls, right? Yeah. I'm not talking about shower
Yeah.
pans and whatnot.
All right. I can't believe you're using, well, first of all, I never heard of these Hydro Defense. It looks like it's James Hardy
It's a Hardy product.
Yeah, which is all good. I think they're a great company. And it looks like it's made out of like a cement. Yeah, cement backer. It's a cement backer board.
Correct.
It's 100% waterproof. Got it. So so instead of drywall or cement board or anything, you're putting this up instead. And then
I guess technically that might be considered a cement board, but it's not your typical what you're thinking that has the ridges and the netting to it. And
right.
Like a Duroc or a Wonder
old
board.
School stuff or the Duroc stuff. Yeah. Now, this is very interesting because a couple things. One, what are you doing with the seams? And you mentioned that you're using Redguard. You already explained how you do the seams. That's where I have my problem with this system. Is the seams. You're relying on, basically, because that's how Redguard's getting used, is you're literally just painting on the seams, right? Yes. And so it will work, sure, fine, maybe it's a DIY product, but it's going to be how many times you're applying that. So how many layers are you putting on? If you're putting on one layer and hoping for the best, that's not going to work. So hopefully you're putting on multiple layers of that. Yeah, I just don't like the Redguard. There's so many things that can go wrong with that. If you're putting on to something that's very porous, a lot of ridges and bumps, more inclined on having a pinhole. You're just waiting for that pinhole somewhere that you can't see because you just slopped it on. Yeah, I don't know. He's leaving it up to chance as far as I'm concerned. Okay. And yes, if somebody came onto my job site with a bucket of Redguard, I would send them home.
Okay.
100%.
Now, just out of curiosity, let's say hypothetically, there's a pinhole in a shower wall. Now, this is just in the substrate itself. We're just talking about whatever tile backer board, whatever system you have on those walls, right? Whatever substrate that is the pinhole. Now, you're still going to thin set, apply tile, and grout to cover that actual wall as a finished wall. So how much water do you foresee getting behind that tile, behind the grout, into that substrate, finding that pinhole, then getting into the framing behind that and doing any sort of damage at all?
Drop is unacceptable to me. So what are we talking about here? I paid you to waterproof my shower.
I guess so. I asked that question for a couple of reasons, right? One is just to show how crazy you are. And two is to show to what extent are we actually waterproofing something? Because there's water resistance and then there's waterproofing. And the reason I bring that up is, we're in remodeling. So how many times have you taken apart a shower that was 40 years ago that may have had just a green board and then tile applied to that green board? And I've taken those apart and seen the green board actually in pretty good shape sometimes. Sometimes I've seen a bunch of mold at the bottom and sometimes it's worn away. Sometimes I've seen green board pretty well intact. I've taken out this shower that we're doing now. This home was built in the late 80s. This home was built. And we took out, they had your typical concrete backer board. So probably a Duroc or, I don't even know if Wonder board was out at that time, probably a Duroc. And it pulled in your typical 4x4 ceramic tiles. Everything pulled right off the walls pretty easily. They didn't glue it. They just screwed it. But there was no damage to any of the framing at all. And they had a boy and girl that lived there from, babies up until they were off to college. So you're talking 18 years of 2 showers a day and nothing. Everything, the framing was all in great shape. So I guess there's the green board, then there's the backer board, and then there's like, if you really want to talk about waterproofing, then you're getting into steam showers, right? Because that has to be waterproofed. That I'll agree. I don't want a pinhole in it. I don't want anything in it. So I guess that's why I asked that question.
What was your question? That was like 10 minutes long.
Yeah,
Okay,
sorry.
so you're good. You're good. What? So I don't know specifically. Are you looking for me to answer anything specific on
I
that?
don't even know if I asked the question.
Well, so the Redguard thing, I don't know. Here's where I stand. If you were given a job to waterproof and you left pinholes, and who's to know there's only one? Who's to know how big the holes are? I mean, there's no real. I guess you can test you're supposed to be testing the floor and filling it up with water and seeing if it goes down. Yeah, right. But who's to say that the walls are? And I get it. Fine. I understand where you're coming from. Really, how much damage is going to cause. But I think you would be surprised. I think everybody would be surprised because you and I are the ones that take showers apart. And how often do you see in the bottom corners just tremendous damage from, who knows from how big that leak was or how big the hole or whatever. I guess here's what it boils down to is what are you being paid to offer? Because there's certain levels of quality, in my opinion, about the levels of waterproofing that you're going to supply. So are you supplying, no waterproofing whatsoever, which is what most is going on out there, right? Mostly the showers that are happening out there are still just getting thrown up with Durac. At least it's Durac now and not
Green board.
just drywall.
Yeah,
green board. At least it's Durac, but still.
Yeah.
That's not a waterproof system, right?
No, it is not.
So what kind of level are you charging and what level are they paying for and what level are they expecting?
Right.
I guess.
Yeah.
Is really my question.
Yeah, I agree.
So I think Redguard, there's Schluter, those probably, in my opinion, your spectrums, right? Got nothing down here. Then you got Redguard, and then you got Schluter over here. And in my opinion, Schluter's going to be the top dog, the best way to do it.
Well,
my opinion, everybody.
Yeah,
Now,
of course. But maybe explain the Schluter wall system, because we certainly covered the Ditra flooring, but maybe explain you certainly know better than me. That's your go-to. So
yeah, okay. The Schluter waterproofing is there's a couple different ways that we can do waterproofing. We can waterproof via a membrane. So you can put, like, here, I got an example of membrane. This is the Curdy membrane, right? So this is going to be, it's a membrane. It's going to be put right on top of the drywall, the Durac, whatever substrate you're putting up.
Okay.
And this is, again, one of the reasons why I like this. Now, Durac, silica dust, right? All the bad things to breathe in when you're cutting. So I just don't even have that on the job site anymore. We don't even need Durac. Now, you can, and we can, if we want to, put Durac up. I think it's a redundancy, but we can.
Mm-hmm.
But most of the time, we can just put up green board, drywall, because we're putting this right on top of it.
And that just comes in a roll, or does that just come in a roll?
Yeah, it just comes in a roll. It comes in a 3.5 foot roll, and I think it comes in a 7 foot roll now, which is new. Yeah, pretty cool.
Yeah, okay.
And the other way with Schluter is if you don't want to use this membrane to put on top of your substrate, you can just get rid of drywall altogether or Durac altogether, whatever substrate you're using. And just like what you were using with the hydro defense, you can just use Curdy board is what it's called. Schluter makes a 1/2 inch, 5/8, 3/4, whatever thickness you want for board. So that would replace your drywall or your backer. And it has this already on it. It's a foam board, and that goes directly on it. I wish I was prepped and ready. I could share my screen and show you guys, but let's see if I can do it while I'm still talking. But you can, there we go. Let me show you here. Maybe it'll help.
So if you use the foam boards, you then use that Curdy membrane on those seams, on those joints?
Yes. So here's the board, right? And the board is going up on the wall. And you would screw that right onto the studs. So if you can see in this picture here, see these are little washers. They're like nice round, maybe 1 inch diameter washers that you would screw right through the foam board and onto the studs of the wall. So to answer your question with all the seams, you would use this stuff, the Curdy band, and that would just go over all of the seams.
Okay.
Everywhere. All your inside and outside corners.
And is that's just thin set applied?
Everything's thin set applied.
Okay.
And so the rule is you have to cover 2 inches or more, and that'll give you your waterproof. And I guess what I like about this system is that I'm not relying on painting something on that is not a solid surface, right? So in the end, there's a chance for human error there. Now, chance for human error in any system, I understand that, but if I'm just gooping on a bunch of red paint, who's to say that I got a nice 100% cohesive? Don't really know that. But with this, I have something tangible. I have something thick and tangible and something solid and big sheets of it that I know is 100% waterproof.
Okay.
Right? And you're covering the corners up with your Curdy band, all the things. I like it.
All right.
It just makes me sleep better at night, right? I don't know.
I will never argue with that. If it helps you sleep better at night, I will never argue that point.
I can't live with saying, well, if there's how much damage is it really going to happen if it just has a pinprick in the wall? And no, man, you're supposed to be providing a superior product to your customer. That's what sets you apart. So provide it. And
sure.
Now, with that said, there's other systems out there. There is Blok. Blok's a big system out here in the Pacific Northwest. I'm not a huge fan of it, and I've ripped out quite a few Blok systems already out here that have leaked. But again, I'm not saying that Blok's a bad system. What I am saying, and I brought this up, was the point is all of the waterproofing systems are good and will work if they're applied correctly, if properly installed.
Sure.
Yes.
Yeah.
So it all comes down to the installation. So I think what's most important is whatever your contractor is used to using and whatever he's 100% confident in using, that's probably what you should be using.
Uh-huh. With
that said, I would just argue, I would just say, then just go find yourself a Schluter contractor that knows what he's doing. You're all set. Let's see. Blok, there is Weedy. There's a Weedy system out there. So the Weedy and the Blok are very similar. Let's see if I have that up and running. So Blok uses it's a concrete, it's a foam board, but it's like the front and the back has this concrete layer on it.
You do elephant showers?
And they have the foam board. You put it on very similar as the Curdy board, which you're going to have a big kind of washer that you're going to screw through and into the studs. But what's The difference is this here. Can you see that? See all the kind of the gray spots in all the inside corners?
Yes.
How they're putting these panels together is they have this big giant sausage tube of goop moulage, and they literally just goop the corners together. They'll put one board in, then they'll put a bead of goop, and then they'll put another board on top of that, and then they'll put another bead on the seam, and then you're supposed to smooth that out with a like plastic trowel. Now, again, it's all in the installation. The Weedy and the Hydroblock, very similar. They're all using this sausage tube of greatness. But I'm telling you, how do you know that you have a 100% seal if you're just gooping it in there? I mean, I've done it. I've done a couple of these, and what I've seemed to have figured out was when you're putting two boards together, I'll put one board down, and then I'll put this big giant goop of a bead all the way down, and then I'll smush the other one in it, and I'll want to see some of that goop kind of smushed out.
Yeah.
Then you put another bead of goop in the inside corner, and then you come back with a trowel and smooth it out. That's supposed to be 100% waterproof. Now, and it is, as long as there's not any mistakes.
And what is this? Is this a silicone? Is this like a silicone base? Do you know?
The goop?
Yeah.
The sausage?
Yeah. I'm assuming it's it's got to be a silicone, if not 100% silicone, a silicone-based product, I'm assuming. Because that's going to adhere as well as be, water.
Yeah, I don't know.
And you can tool it.
Literally called,
it's not great, but you can tool it.
Yeah, it's literally called the joint sealant sausage.
Okay.
It has been developed as the optimal sealant adhesive for use with Hydroblock shower system components, the low VOC polyurethane formula.
Polyurethane. All right.
There you go.
Okay.
So, Hydroblock, Weedy, Schluter, Redguard.
Mm-hmm.
Seriously. If you're doing Redguard, then I imagine you're doing your own bathroom and you're the homeowner. Because that's a DIY situation. So if you want...
they use this in commercial products. See, like this, it's not a DIY product. Like,
oh my gosh.
This is using commercial applications, industrial applications. It's used interior and exterior. It's been used in pools. And no pool has ever failed. No pool has ever leaked.
Right. All right, so most importantly, put that stuff, whatever system you're using, use it and use it correctly.
Follow the instructions. Yes. Follow the instructions. Yeah. Do it right. But use something.
Yeah.
Use something.
Now,
don't just greenboard and tile it and figure out it's fine. Use something.
Yeah. Now, if you're interested, Schluter does do a 2-day workshop where you can get certified in it. I got certified in it 2008, maybe 2010, somewhere around there. That was back when it was a 3-day workshop, and I don't know what their workshops are like now, but back when I did it, they put you up in a hotel and you spend 3 days learning about the Schluter products and the history, about tiling in and of itself, and then there's hands-on training as well.
And does that certification have an expiration date, or something that's to get renewed, or continuing education, or one and done?
It's one and done.
Okay.
It's one and done. Yeah. Yep. Yeah. So I would recommend you doing that, not to get the certification, although that's cool and often sometimes is nice to use as a sales pitch, just to give yourself some credibility. But I think what's most important is getting the hands-on training and learning about all the products and how to properly install that, whatever system. I'm sure I know that Hydroblock around here actually has classes as well. So I think what's most important is whatever system that you want to start using or believe in or you want to stand behind, go and take classes to learn that and send your guys to go or gals to go and get certified. Maybe it's not even a certification. Just go and take the class so you become better aware of it. Not only that, you'll learn something. The last hydro block class I went and took just so I can learn what garbage they're using out here, I'm sorry, it was great because I got to learn the different products and I got to ask some of the questions of why I'm seeing some of the failures that I'm seeing. And every failure that I've seen, it's been because the installer hasn't installed this one thing that they were supposed to buy separate, or in this particular circumstance, if you're going to use the hydroblock system in this way, then you need to have this thing.
Okay.
That was one particular one that I remember. So it just didn't get installed correctly, and so it failed. And I don't know. I can go on and on about the differences because there's a ton of differences. There's even tons of differences in the drains that they use. You got to look at the Schluter drains versus the hydroblock drains, and because if you want to start using the system in totality, right? So that's including now the shower pan, because hydroblock, Schluter. I don't know about your hydro defense. Do they sell a pan, a pre-sloped pan?
No,
No,
but it's a Hardy product, and to my knowledge, I don't think Hardy
probably
sells
not.
any prefab pans. I think they're more sheet good and siding
Right.
kind of thing, right? So it's more of a
Yeah.
I
If
think
you're
they
buying a
steer clear to the pans, at least for now.
Yeah, if you're gonna, so what we do now is 100% from floor to ceiling is the Schluter product. So we're buying the pre-sloped pans now. So we're not we're not pouring a concrete slab. We're not building one. We are building with the foam, pre-sloped foam pans. We can build any dimension we want, which is awesome. It's totally customizable, and
Okay,
you can
that was going to be my question.
And you just
And is that something
you can
order online or order through a vendor, or how does that work if you had a goofy shower? And by goofy shower, I said, like, let's say you had some weird neo angle and odd size, because that's just, for whatever reason, it worked in that space. Is that something you're given particular dimensions online, filling out a form, and they just ship to your door?
No.
Okay.
No. So what you do is you go online and you look at the closest pre-made sloped pan that's closest to your dimensions. If you can find one that is bigger than your dimensions and laid out in the orientation that you want to lay out, and by that I mean if you're using a linear drain or a center drain, where the drain's going to be, and on what wall do you want the linear drain to be on. If you can find a pan that has that orientation that you want, that's slightly bigger than your dimensions that you want to build, then you buy that one, and then you literally just cut it with a knife, with a pocket knife, a utility knife.
Score and snap?
And score and snap. Boom, done. It's just foam. It's just foam.
Okay.
And it's a high density hard foam. It's awesome too because they can make these very, very thin. Hydroblock is the exact same. They have a foam board, and except theirs has this concrete finish on the top, whereas Schluter has the Curdy membrane on top. You can score and snap the Hydroblock one as well. And you can it makes zero entry, zero barrier, no barrier,
curbless,
however you want to call them, curbless showers.
Mm-hmm.
Much easier and accessible. Before, we used to have to literally cut down the joists and reinforce them. Now what we're doing is we're taking the subfloor out, and then we're putting the subfloor in between the joists. So you'll build a frame in between each joist, 3/4 of an inch lower than the top of the joist.
and then you put your plywood, 3/4 plywood, in between the joists. So you have plywood, joist, and that's now your new platform for the shower pan, and that gives you 3/4 of an inch to play with now.
Yeah. Okay.
Right?
Yeah.
And you're not changing any framing.
That's interesting.
It works. Yeah, we've been doing this for years. It's awesome now. Hydro Blok. This is actually, if you go to their websites, they'll actually tell you how to do this. Schluter explains how to do this, and just take some 2x4s and build yourself a rectangle and screw it into the side of the joists, and boom, you're done. Hydro Blok actually has brackets that are meant to be installed on top of the joist next to it, and it will come down and hang down.
So you're right.
And those are they're actually meant for eye joists. So if you have an eye joist, right, and you're just like, well, now what? How do I drop this into the eye joist, because it's shaped like an eye? There's brackets that you can buy from Hydro Blok that actually allows these brackets to hang down. You put your 2x4s on that and screw your subfloor down, and boom, you're done.
Okay.
So it works pretty nice.
Yeah. Sounds like.
Yeah. So it's pretty cool. These pans are nice. We're not building pans like we used to. We're getting really thin, allowing this entry barrier, allowing us to now waterproof the floor, the walls, and everything all in one. Now, the hard part about not using a shower pan, a pre-sloped shower pan, this is tough because some homeowners are going to want, it's an education thing. Okay? Educate your homeowners, people. But they may want that white acrylic pan because it's a cheaper option.
Sure.
And sure, budget's always a concern. So if that's the route you have to go down, that's the route you have to go down. The problem lies in how do you waterproof the wall when it meets that acrylic water pan, that acrylic shower pan down there. That's tough. Many different ways to do it. I'm not going to get into all of that, but it can be done, but it's not perfect, and it is a little level of risk, very similar to when you use Redguard in your corners. Little level of risk that you have to be happy with. I've used them if we have to, but we really, really, really shy away from those because I don't sleep good at night with those.
Preaching to the choir on that one. Yeah.
All right. So those things creak, they move,
Yep.
They're cheap,
Yep.
They make noise,
Yep.
And literally the drain is only waterproof as long as that rubber grommet stays flexible, and every time you step, that thing flexes, and sooner or later that's going to give way. I'm telling you, that's not worth it.
I did
not to mention
did a shower a couple of years back, and I almost pleaded, and you said, please, I don't want to use a prefab shower pan. I just don't like them. And they said, well, we're just doing white subway tile, so it's going to fit in anyway. And I said, we can do a nice white tile shower floor. I said, I'm telling you, it just looks nicer. It's more resilient. I'm much more comfortable doing those. And, I can't make them. So your point, educate your clients, right? I told them I don't like them for that reason. I said, they do tend to creak. I don't think they're just not substantial. They're not well made. They're not very solid. And sure enough, we put it in and it creaked. My plumber built it up put a nice mortar bed under it, tied in his drain, did everything right. But when push comes to shove, when that thing was done, it creaked. And she said, well, what can we do about it? And I said, nothing. I like, at this point, there's nothing I can do, at least not to my knowledge. Maybe there is, but so you feel bad because it's like you gutted the whole bathroom, went through this whole process. I really highly recommended you don't use this. You wanted to, and this is the result. And it's like,
Yeah.
So I agree. Definitely don't use those, but I do like the zero clearance or like curbless or whatever you want to call it. Yeah, zero clearance or low clearance or whatever. That's interesting. I'm not familiar with the Hydro Blok system at all, so I do like the idea of the hangover hooks that give you some support to drop that down, and that's all very interesting. All very interesting.
Are you familiar with Weedy?
I am, yeah, because they sell that at Tile Shop. Yeah.
So Hydro Blok and Weedy are identical. I'm sure most. Yeah.
Okay.
It's very, very, very similar.
Okay.
Very similar.
Okay.
Yeah.
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 Maybe that's just more of a West Coast thing or out West thing than Hydro Blok.
Yeah. When I moved out here, I was educating everybody on the Schluter, and they've never heard of it. And I was just, because we never heard of Hydro Blok in the Midwest. What are you talking about? So it's just
just a regional
local regional thing.
Yeah.
So, but I have been pushing Schluter out here a lot, and I'm starting to see it a lot more now.
Okay.
And I actually had a client that actually asked for it, and I was so giddy. I was like, yes, I don't have to educate him on this new, which is not new, system.
Yeah. Yeah.
It was cool.
Nice. All right.
Well, yeah, boy, we went down a tangent. Yeah, I guess you can tell I'm a little passionate about waterproofing, but yeah, whatever.
That's a good thing.
Is there anything that we should touch base on before we give it a go? Waterproofing.
Not that comes to mind. Nothing that comes to mind. Other than, I said, unless you want to get into like steam showers, and that's a whole different thing. You're getting
that's a whole nother ball game.
Yeah.
All right. Well, cheers, everybody. Hope this was helpful.
Cheers.
Till next time.
Salud.
Cheers.